Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Diego Dario. And in tonight's game plan, we'll break down the matchups for the semifinals of the Spikers Turf Open Conference.
We'll also talk about some off-season moves that PBL teams have been making in preparation for the upcoming reinforced conference. And we'll take you behind the scenes as the Ateneo Blue Eagles and the NU Bulldogs aim for more in UAAP Season 85. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Ooh, and the action just got better as the Spikers Turf continues its semifinals round. Now with us to talk more about the matchups is volleyball analyst Neil Flores, who is famous for extending games to 5 sets.
Yes, sir.
Neil, kamusta ka naman?
Okay naman, thank you for having me and I'm happy to be back, lalo na't Spikers Turf naman yung topic natin.
You know, with the Spikers Turf, no, it seems like yesterday we were just talking about the return of men's volleyball and now we're in the semifinals. Wow.
And speaking of yesterday, Neil had the opportunity to call another 5-setter game over in Smart Giga Play. So Neil, unang-una, pag-usapan muna natin dito yung semifinals format for those not familiar. So it's another round robin, and we had a couple of games yesterday, including one particular, I would say some people might say an upset. You talk about, of course, we're talking about the Signal game against NU Santa Elena. What do you make of that game?
It looked like it was going to be a repeat of that victory of the Signal HD Spikers against the Nationals. But then, when the blocking kicked in that third set, everything changed and the Nationals never looked back. They scored a massive 7 block points in a single set. And that was their highest output so far in a single set against the HD Spikers. And that was the character that was actually missing in their first encounter. So it's just nice to see them really show their character. And aside from that, they had 2 players, the outside hitters in Almendras and Budin, scoring double figures. And this system of NU, they're going to live and die with their outside hitters. And yun yung nangyari. And they got that win in 5 sets.
And one loss doesn't mean it's over for the teams here in the semifinals because, you know, as Pao mentioned, the format is different. It's not, you know, 1-4, 2-3 seeding style. It's a round robin. How does that change the game here for Spikers Turf?
Malaki yung pagbabago na yun based on what I'm seeing right now, because imagine 2 teams right now have another chance to actually dethrone the Signal HD Spikers. If you're in the ranked 1 and 2 after the preliminaries, medyo disadvantage na wala nang twice to beat. But this is how the cards will be dealt. So Signal has to be able to bounce back if they want to defend their title here in the Open Conference.
The other matchup that happened yesterday was a 3-set sweep between the PJJC Navy and the VNS1 Alicia. Itong Navy, they've never been here before in the semifinals, and yet here they are happy with their first win. It was again a sweep against VNS. I called that game, but I want to ask about your opinion. Just what did you see in that one, and of course, how excited should we all be for this Navy team?
For the Philippine Navy, when you talk about player movement and recruitment, they're not the team na pinakamaraming na-score na players. But they were able to get a gem in Jao Umandal, who is currently the best attacker in the league. And that was probably enough. We didn't need a lot of pieces. We just needed Jao to complete the roster, and with the support of Greg Dolor, they're actually doing wonderful things for PGJC Navy. And for VNS1 Alicia, we used to cover them from 2018 pa. The very first season nung Blue Eagle team pa yun eh.
And this is such a different team, by the way. This is a playoff team and they play like it.
Yeah, and from the moment that we saw them, yung revamped roster did them wonders as well. Ish Polvorosa and Kim Malabunga joining the fold, and they also have a lot of youngsters, incoming collegiate players like Kevin Montemayor, who actually got the highest output score of 9 points. But definitely that would not be enough. They might need 3 or more players to punch in double figures if they want to challenge Signal. And you don't want to be on the receiving end of the wrath of the reigning champions after that loss against the Nationals.
So and you talked about it, right? The seeding, number 3 and number 4 probably. What do they have to do in order for them to try and, you know, get that upset against Signal?
right now, the top scorer kasi for VNS1 Alicia would always be their outside or their opposite hitters. They really need to get Kim Malabunga involved because an advantage that will not be used will just be your disadvantage eventually. And aside from that, they've been having difficulties in terms of setting up their defense up front sa net. So blocking will play a huge factor against a strong attacking team like Signal as well.
So on the other end, syempre, it will be first off, it's going to be the losers against each other from at least from the first matchup. So it will be VNS1 Alicia against Signal. Pero on the other side, you have the PGJC Navy and the NU Santa Elena. I was talking to Gia about this, that in this particular format, if you get 2 losses, that's a death sentence.
Yeah.
So wanting to avoid that first loss of if you're PGJC Navy and the NU Santa Elena has to be really important. When you see these two clash, what are you looking for?
It's gonna be an exciting matchup because these are the two teams that actually dealt Signal their losses. So they're peaking at the right time. The momentum is there for both of these squads. And again, if you get that magic number 2, you will get the first ticket to the finals.
Yeah.
And when you actually get that chance to dethrone Signal in the semifinals, you might be in a position na all-time high yung confidence mo coming into that gold medal match.
And the teams who lost will go up against each other. Talking about VNS and Signal, what can you see about this game coming up on Saturday?
May sleeping giant ba tayo
Oo.
in terms of Signal after what happened to them in the last game?
Well, in men's volleyball, I always believe bilog ang bola. So I'm not counting the Griffins out just yet because I've seen a lot of upsets in the past few years, not just in Spikers Turf, but in the arena of men's volleyball here in the Philippines. And you will be surprised na you would think that it would be a David and Goliath kind of setup, but then eventually, yung lower seeded team pa yung nag-emerge as the winner. But again, both of these teams will definitely work hard to get that win. And Signal, they're in a position now, hindi na sila pwedeng matalo.
And of course, you can catch those games on Saturday, that's September 24. First game at 2:30 p.m. NU Santa Elena Nationals against the PGJC Navy, followed by the VNS1 Alicia against the Signal HD Spikers at 5:30 p.m. Catch that Smart Giga Play and of course on One Sports as well. I don't know if Neil, are you calling those games?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. I'm not sure either.
Are you
I don't know either. I'm waiting for
I'll
a
just watch the
text.
games on
Wink,
TV.
wink. All right. So here it is, the schedule. Of course, you can also go to the Paco Arena. We're seeing more and more people there. Ako, gusto ko na sobrang mapuno yung Paco Arena that we actually have a hard time moving around. That is the dream. That is the goal. Pero syempre naman, at the moment, it's just so happy to see everyone come back sa men's volleyball. But we're not done with you yet, Neil, because we have women's volleyball to talk about up next.
More volleyball after the break. We'll check out the teams that made big off-season moves for the upcoming PVL Reinforced Conference. Stay tuned, you're watching The Game. watching the game. While the athletes may not be on the floor, the Premier Volleyball League is still making headlines after a couple of major off-season moves. Still with us to talk about some of these big changes ahead of the reinforced conference is volleyball analyst Neil Flores. Neil, you know, pag PVL, pag off-season, it's always about the player movements and I love it.
It's so fun.
I'm here for it, man. Let's talk about F2 first, and they just signed Ivy Lacsina. Hindi na siya bago dito sa PVL, Neil. I mean, she played for
Valley
Valley
Pure.
Pure and
Yeah,
knew that school-based team before, but now first time as a pro here in the PVL.
Yeah, for F2 Logistics, they're gearing up for a big comeback. You
Yeah.
know, when they first joined the PVL, it was a very underwhelming performance for the F2 Logistics cargo movers. A lot of expectations were there, pero hindi lang na-meet kasi kulang yung players nila. But now, they will have Ivy Lacsina, and she was part of that immaculate record of the NU Lady
Crazy.
Bulldogs. 16-0 in the UAAP. But not just Ivy, ha. Kalei Ma will be back.
Yeah.
Lindsay Stalzer will be back,
Yeah,
and
it's a
Kim
stacked
Fajardo will be
team.
back. So I can definitely say with full confidence that they will be competing for that crown in the reinforced conference.
You know, this F2 team honestly reminds me of the championship teams of old. Obviously,
Yeah.
because the people are back.
Yeah.
Like, the key pieces are back. But, you know, let's see. We haven't seen them in championship form in quite a while. So, they have a lot to prove here talking about F2. Ito naman, Choco Mucho, of course, they acquired Micah Ortiz. And it felt like, correct me if I'm wrong, signing out of necessity.
Yeah.
Kasi grabe yung mga injuries ng Choco
Yeah.
Mucho in the last conference. In fact, not everyone has recovered from those injuries yet.
And they've been dealing with these injuries for quite some time already. Madi Madayag is still recovering from that ACL injury. Aduke Gonzalez down with an
Yeah,
ACL injury
as well.
And Dina Wong is also nursing a shin injury, if I'm not mistaken. So that has been one of the major problems for the Flying Titans. And this is a team that has always been trying their best to enter that championship round, but when it comes to the semifinals, dun sila nabibiten. So hopefully, Mike Ortiz can actually provide that championship experience and winning mentality dun sa mga players on the floor for Choco Mucho, because she also has some titles under her belt in the professional league.
And of course, you look at how this Choco Mucho team has played in the past conferences. Siyempre, the knock on them was like, can they actually finish with a top 2 finish? Because there's a lot of potential in this group. What do you feel they need to do, especially with a more stacked field now? Again, you have F2 coming in, you have a team like Akari trying to make inroads here in the league. What can Choco Mucho do to go up that next level?
For Choco Mucho, I have always felt na kulang lang sila ng isang player na one kill, one stop mentality. You know, the Eliza Valdezes, the
Yeah.
Gemma Galanza, the Tots Carlos, yung mga ganyang names. But since this is import season, yun na yung player na
Yeah.
kulang nila eh. But the question is, can this import actually lift or carry the scoring load for the Flying Titans? Because hindi lang naman siya yung import. There are 9 competing teams this season, and I'm sure all of the teams are pretty much prepared to enter that Final Four this time around.
And now, Neil, let's talk about one team who won a championship and struggled after that a little, and now
Yeah.
they're going for a full rebuild here in the PVL reinforced conference. Can you talk about the changes that they're making here ahead of the season?
Yeah, you can definitely feel the void na naiwan nung Santiago sisters. Definitely, they got a championship in the PVL, pero nung naglaro na si Jaja sa Japan, every thing went downfall na talaga sa Cherry-Tigo crossovers. They released most of their players, and I was very surprised because the players that were released were actually veterans.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going for a different direction. Mukhang magsisimula sila sa grassroots because some of the additions, mga bata pa eh. So I think they want to start out fresh with a new system, with a new coaching staff. So I'm not putting too much pressure on the Cherry-Tigo crossovers coming into this reinforced conference. But definitely, with all of the new additions, they can shape up to be a very competitive team this time around.
And how does that work? As a developing team with young players, do you expect them to win a lot of games? And what will they have to learn in order for them to be very competitive here in the PVL?
First of all, you have to be very realistic. Just like, for example, the Akari Chargers, they're a new team, a rookie season nga nila. So, etong Cherry-Tigo crossovers, I would also consider this as their rookie season. So, it will all be about focusing on team dynamic and fundamentals, and with the reinforced conference coming into play, maraming guest players, diba? And these are players, top caliber players from all around the world. We will have Olympians joining here in the reinforced conference. So it's also getting a little bit knowledge and experience dun sa system kung saan sila nanggaling. So malaking tulong yon in the redevelopment of Cherry Tigo.
Now, for those who are wondering kung sino mga na-release sa players, is Rachel Austero, Joy Dacoron, Elaine Casilag, Justin Dorog, Arian Layog, and Julia Angeles. And yes, those are a lot of players who honestly are good veteran pieces for any team. Pero syempre, we still have a bit of time here. I want to circle all the way back to F2. Kasi the last time we saw them here in the PVL, sabihin na natin, underwhelming yung performance nila. And you could chalk that down to injuries, not having the right pieces that they were supposed to have. Pero what gives you optimism for you this year, considering na, okay, nakabalik ng Kalemao, Ivy Laxinas joining, it's an import conference as well, that you mentioned possible contenders for the championship, because that says a lot.
Yeah. What can I say? Itong F2 Logistics, when you look at that actual starting 7, I can already predict kung sino yung papasok dun sa starting unit nila. And that was actually the championship team that they had in the previous commercial leagues that they joined. And for me, even if they weren't able to train as much, dahil teammates na sila before, konting adjustments na lang din naman yan eh. And with Kalimao and Lindsay, Stalzer in the fold. And we know that here in the Philippines, heavy tayo sa pagbigay ng bola sa wing hitters eh. So that's a very basic aspect in the sport of volleyball. So again, with Kim Fajardo also back, hopefully healthier version of Kim Fajardo, she can actually steer this F2 ship to that gold medal round.
Is health going to be the biggest issue, or at least the biggest question mark for both F2 and Chocomucho? Because those teams really, health was not their best friend last time around.
Definitely, because this is a prolonged conference compared to the other conferences that we had. Medyo na madali yun eh. Sunod-sunod yung games eh. But now, it's a full length in terms of schedule, and they will have proper time to recover. And again, dahil nga may import, for sure, these imports will most probably be in the top scoring picture every single game. So that takes a couple of yung load pa sa other local players natin.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Neil Florist, one of our flower givers for the
Love it.
The guys, the girls that
Neil
we
Florist
feel,
right there.
we feel deserves their flowers. Neil, maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now we're shifting to the hard court because after the break, we'll check in with the Ateneo Blue Eagles and the NU Bulldogs ahead of the UAAP Season 85 Men's Basketball Tournament. Keep it here. You're watching The Game. back to the game. The countdown begins for UAAP Season 85, and the Ateneo Blue Eagles are determined to bring back the crown to the other side of Katipunan, while the ANU Bulldogs are looking to finally break into the Final Four. Now let's get a glimpse into their preparations as we go behind the scenes in our special segment called BTS.
Preparations namin, we were focused on ourselves kasi mas gusto ni Coach Tab na i-fine-tune yung mga lapses namin, especially on execution and on the defensive end. And kasi we also wanted to bond as a team kasi almost half of the players of the team right now are new. And we wanted to instill the culture of Ateneo.
Ildefonso picks up the dribble, goes out to Andrade. Andrade drives. Andrade with a wild shot, and he kisses it off the glass. 7. Dave kicks it out. Andrade for another 3. Sends that baby home.
Keep that other FU big man in that corner to force Ange Kouame to come out to the perimeter.
Siguro, I just had to follow the footsteps of my mga captains ko before, like Gian Mamuyak, Mike Nieto, Anton Asistio, sila Vince Tolentino. And luckily now, part of our assistant coaches is G-Boy Babylonia, who was a captain of his batch. So, nakabigay naman siya ng advice sa akin to be a great captain.
We're in the process, and I think it's been going good naman, especially with our trips. We went to Japan and to Israel, so I think that really helped us become as a team.
From the Blue Eagles of Katipunan to the NU Bulldogs of Sampaloc, both squads are hungry for the title in UAAP Season 85.
Goal namin na kukunin namin yung game, every game na step by step muna siguro kami bago namin makuha yung Final Four. Yung Final Four talaga yung target namin. For me, para sa akin naman, hindi ako umasa ng mga award ngayon. Siguro bibigay ko lang yung best ko.
He can always escape his defense every time. Inside pass to Clemente, just what we're talking about. Yung performance niya has never really dipped. Kumbaga laging nandyan.
Yeah. He's the leader of the Adamson Falcons. Even from
Dami ko na siguro na-experience Na-experience na ako ng mga overseas tournament. Kaya yun siguro minomotivate ko sa mga teammate ko. Thankful din ako kasi isa na ako sa mga leader ngayon ng NU.
I think we are ready. We are ready to compete because we play 2 pre-season league and we was unbeaten. But I think we are ready. But just I don't want to focus about that. I just want to push myself every day. Yes, and all my teammates do the same.
Omar John against the much smaller Tane Davis. Looks very easy for John in that particular. Naivet, derecho. Labas to Flores. Sanko. Rejected by Omar John.
Last season, we missed the playoff like for one win away. So this season we will take game by game. Every game is challenge for us because we wanna go to the finals or at least Final Four.
We just heard from the Ateneo Blue Eagles and the NU Bulldogs. Now, what else can we expect from these two teams in UAAP Season 85? Well, you know what? I'm just lucky that we have Diego Dario here who will be analyzing in the UAAP Season 85 men's basketball tournament and hosting the press con as well. And of course, when you have a team like Ateneo coming in after a big championship disappointment, grabe, all eyes will be on them.
Well, first of all, I can't wait for the start of the UAAP. But when you talk about this Ateneo team, I feel like the system will always give Ateneo a chance to compete, to be a contender in the finals. They were, as BJ mentioned earlier, they were really focusing on themselves here in the preseason. They didn't really join the Phil Oil preseason tournament, but they, had games in Japan. They focused on training and trying to develop their new and young guys. So it's going to be exciting how this Ateneo squad will compete in the UAAP.
And the NU Bulldogs, undefeated sa Phil Oil and poised to break into that Final Four in what is going to be, a lot of people are assuming it's going to be a tough race to just the 4th spot.
That's right.
But then, would it be a surprise if there was an upset and maybe they end up 3rd, maybe 2nd?
Well, them winning the championship in the Phil Oil tournament, that's going to be a big boost for their confidence. They have that collective experience of actually winning against these teams, and JLC mentioned he's going to be one of the leaders. I love how he mentioned that he's not focused on getting the individual awards. It's all about the team for JLC, and that's how NU plays. They move the ball very well. They don't really have that one guy where they just give him the ball and create. And defensively, they're one of the best defensive teams last season in the UAAP.
Well, a lot of expectations, and hopefully if you're NU, you're hoping your team did not peak too early kasi grabe yung pinakita nila sa Phil Oil. And of course, let's see what they can come up with in the upcoming season 85. At syempre naman, itong si Diego Dario will be hosting the press conference for the men's basketball tournament. Of course, I gotta do it. We're gonna find out a lot from him in terms of what's to come in the upcoming season. Thank you very much, Jegs. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir, and thank you guys for joining us. I'm Diego Dario.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paolo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.